So this is the straw bale house that we're currently staying in, and unfortunately most of the straw, well, all the straw bale in the rendering was done before we got here. So we're currently just picking their brains as much as we can and learning as much as we can just based off their experiences, and hopefully we'll take a lot away from this. So here we are inside the straw bale house, and you can see that large curved wall here that we saw when we were further up above. And so everything's rendered on the inside, and we're just kind of waiting for it to cure properly. So that's why you kind of have some darker spots and lighter spots on the walls and everything. And so everything's just trying to catch up in the same curing process. So the floors here are the poured earth floors, and it's a really interesting concept. And it's amazing how it can end up looking. So it's just a combination of, I believe, straw, sand, and clay. And when you seal it and have it compacted properly, you basically get this tile here. This was a sample that they had made to see what the final product would look like. And it's hard, and when you seal it properly, it's actually waterproof and everything as well, and rather durable. So this on the bottom here, this is the subsurface, so it's going to have the final coat on top of it, which you see here, and that would be the final product. And because of what it's made of, with the straw and everything in it, I imagine it would be a pretty warm floor as well. So they integrated a lot of circular bulkheads and curved walls and everything, and they really made a bit of a challenge for themselves, but it worked out in the end. And even above in the bulkhead, there's curved glass as well, which would have been very difficult to work with and probably not very cheap. They laid a bit of stone wherever they knew that light was going to hit at different times of the day to try to gain a little bit of thermal mass, as well as the floor will provide some thermal mass, even though it does have an insulation value to it. And so this will end up being the main common area. And I believe the kitchen will be over on this side. So I should mention that this isn't load-bearing straw bales. It's all post and beam, and then use the straw bales to fill in. You can see behind where the vanity is going to go here that the rendering's all scratched up. So you do that in order for the following coats to be able to adhere to it. So we're in the bathroom right now. And this is really interesting. I thought I would show everyone this. So this is 2 panes of glass essentially, and it's capped off at the top, but they basically took a straw with different colors of sand and they laid it out in a pattern and just did it over a course of quite a while and tried not to get the sands to mix, but I think it's really gorgeous and a great idea, and it actually goes through to the other side as well. Again, more curved walls. You get a little bit of flexibility with the straw bale, but these are all interior partitions, so that would have been all studded curves and would have probably been very fun. So there's the other side of this guy. We're in one of the bedrooms now that's going to lead to an ensuite over there, and we'll continue the tour in a little bit. So this is what we would call a permaculture garden. The idea is that everything is working with everything. You have interplanting, you have chickens and ducks helping to keep down pests and keep the weeds out, as well as fertilize and everything. A lot of permaculture also deals with and talks about the microbes in the soil and everything. So you end up getting a lot of these no-dig beds, which basically means you don't disrupt the soil underneath, you just kind of add on top of it. So this one over here is a no-dig bed. It's a layers of straw, compost, and pretty much you just let the plants go crazy. There's some manure in there too, and as the straw, the carbon basically, breaks down, it keeps adding more and more food as it's slowly decomposing. And the manure and other organic matters, putting nitrogen into the soil continuously. So yesterday what we did is put a bunch of garlic beds in for the winter months. So there was this garlic bed, and we made this no big bed over here. So all of over here is kind of organized planting, rows and the sorts. You get fruit trees and everything kind of interplanted, and over here they're kind of doing more of a forage principle. So you end up with surprises, basically. If you look underneath places, you'll find a beetroot hiding underneath an apple tree, or there's rhubarb interplanted with lemon balm and sage, parsley, rosemary scattered around here. There's clover everywhere, continuously putting nitrogen into the soil. Again, lots of fruit trees. There's some squash and everything just kind of growing. So it's basically foraging. You kind of never know what you're going to get, and a lot of these things self-sow. These type of ducks are really good for permaculture. They're eating most of the slugs and other bugs that would usually eat the leaves and everything, so it means you don't need to use pesticides. There's also companion planting in here that try to keep pests away as well, so garlic, onions, calendula and stuff like that. And then what you do is you slowly introduce the chickens into different portions when you're not using it. So the chickens basically will weed this whole area for you. They'll dig it up and they'll make it ready to go, and the whole time adding nitrogen with their manure. And then when they're done in here, the temporary fencing will put them in another area, and you kind of just keep rotating them and keeping the soil fresh and rejuvenated. This is a compost pile we made yesterday. So it was layers of carbon, nitrogen, and it's hot composting. So the nitrogen is what gives it the heat, but you don't want it to go too fast, too quickly. So you kind of put the carbon in there, and that'll slow down the process. But the whole thing will go hot enough to kill the things you don't want, while leaving all the good microbes and everything inside the compost. So that's a little introduction to a permaculture garden. And always having compost heaps on the go, feeding your soil, keeping everything alive, tons of worms everywhere, and many more of the little things that you don't see by the naked eye.